Some in Washington say the conflict in the Middle East, along with tensions over Taiwan, could shape both the tone and outcome of talks between the US and Chinese presidents. Our expectations for major breakthroughs, however, remain modest. Kate Fisher filed this report for CNA from Washington.
Ships stranded in the Strait of Hormuz, more than 6,000 kilometres from Beijing, are casting a long shadow over the upcoming summit between Presidents Donald Trump and Xi Jinping, a meeting earlier postponed by the US over its war with Iran. The summit would follow a high-level meeting last week between Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and China's top diplomat Wang Yi, against the backdrop of an already delicate US-China relationship. And some analysts say the conflict could shape the talks.
And that kind of distraction does, I think, increase China's confidence that they can use this upcoming summit to secure a significant advantage in the US-China relationship and secure greater freedom of action for themselves in the Western Pacific. We can look also at how the US is redeploying really important military capabilities from the Indo-Pacific to the Middle East for use in Iran.
That shift in US military focus and resources could weaken US deterrence in the Indo-Pacific and potentially embolden Beijing, particularly on Taiwan.
I think Beijing views President Trump as flexible, perhaps even apathetic towards Taiwan in a way that other US presidents have not been in the past, in the way that China thinks it's unlikely US presidents will be in the future. And so they see a really unique window of opportunity to try and reorient President Trump's perspective on Taiwan to align more closely with China's own views. China believes that gives them an advantage because they will happily trade soybean purchases for concessions on Taiwan any day.
Trade remains central to the equation. Washington is pushing Beijing to commit to buying at least 25 million metric tons of soybeans each year for the next 3 years, part of broader efforts to manage ongoing trade tensions. Competition over artificial intelligence and the materials behind it is another major flashpoint. China wants the US to ease export curbs on advanced semiconductors, while Washington wants Beijing to loosen restrictions on rare earths exports.
We're leading China in AI.
Even so, some in the Trump administration acknowledge that China is racing to close that gap.
So it's a huge priority, and China obviously has been investing very heavily in general in R&D. So this field of applying AI for science, it's a real movement. And China is not only keenly aware of it, but it is investing very heavily towards the acceleration of discovery using AI techniques and quantum techniques and high-performance computing.
From security to trade and technology, the list of sticking points is long, prompting analysts to temper expectations for any major breakthroughs at the summit. Instead, President Trump is likely to focus on stabilizing relations with his biggest global rival and preserving a fragile trade truce, while his attention remains dominated by the conflict in the Middle East, rising fuel prices, and falling poll numbers at home. For CNA, I'm Kate Fisher in Washington.